Front now, former Secretary of Homeland Security under President Obama and the former Democratic governor of Arizona, Janet Napolitano, who served on Obama's Transition Advisory Board, and retired Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, former Chief of Staff to then Secretary of State Colin Powell, now a member of the National Task Force on Election Crises. I appreciate both of you being with me. So, Secretary Napolitano, what are the risks posed here by what you hear out of not just Mitch McConnell, but out of the face of American democracy around the world? Mike Pompeo saying he's prepared for a second Trump administration. These delays and these words?
Well, I think words matter. And to the extent that they're casting aspersions on the American electorate and the American election, those words get shared around the world and cast doubt from other countries. It's not a doubt that is well deserved, because, as you've been saying, there are no facts underlying these contentions that the election somehow was stolen or that there was widespread fraud, despite all of these cases that have been kind of thrown at the wall. The facts and the law don't support them. And Vice President Biden is the president-elect. We are fortunate that he has much experience and his team has a lot of experience so that they can manage their way through this, and they will. But it doesn't help the security of the country, and it certainly doesn't help our image around the world.
So, Colonel Wilkerson, to that front, you're on the National Task Force on Election Crises. So I want to play for you again the crucial words from Secretary of State Pompeo today.
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. All right, we're ready. The world is watching what's taking place.
Colonel, you gamed out a lot of crisis scenarios for this election and its aftermath. Did you ever imagine hearing something like that from the Secretary of State?
Not from the Secretary of State. I mean, yes, he's right. The world is watching. We've had Secretaries of State from Thomas Jefferson to William Jennings Bryan to John Kerry, who wanted to run for president, but they didn't do it from the podium of the Secretary of State. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to capture that little kernel of Trump's base and, by implication, the larger group that voted for Trump for the next presidential election. And it's just egregious that he's doing that. Imagine him facing Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister now, or facing the real foreign minister for China, Wang Yi, or any of our allies' foreign ministers. What's he going to say? How's he going to act? They're going to be laughing at him or scared of him.
So, Secretary Napolitano, what game is Secretary Pompeo playing?
I don't know what's in his head. Maybe his statement was just a bad joke, but we're not preparing for a second Trump term. We are preparing for the Biden-Harris presidency and vice presidency. The electorate has spoken. The voters have cast their ballots in huge numbers, and the results are the results. And so at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, President Trump and his team, including Secretary of State Pompeo, are going to have to get through it and acknowledge that Vice President Biden is the president-elect.
So, Colonel Wilkerson, among the scenarios that you gamed out, what do you think the biggest risk is right now, given what you just heard Boris reporting from the White House, right, which is that the president's trying to go ahead with budgets for next year. He's saying don't give any money to anybody who's trying to do any kind of a transition, that he is, to everyone around him, completely refusing to accept what has happened.
Well, in our simulation results, the Trump team did exactly this and more. They ransacked the White House. They stole paintings off the wall. They took the Secret Service and went to every Trump hotel on the face of the earth and stayed forever. They camped at Mar-a-Lago. They did all manner of things to include making it impossible to act swiftly in terms of the Biden transition team. But like Professor Tribe said, I think this man is one of the most experienced people, certainly in security and foreign policy, that have come to the White House in a long time. So I don't think it'll be as injurious as it was to us, for example, when we had a truncated transition process in the George W. Bush administration, because George W. Bush was one of the most inexperienced men that ever walked into the White House. So I think that's a safeguard here. I look for more. I look for a lot more from this team because we saw it in the simulation.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Words of warning there. Thank you. I appreciate both of you.